The region warned to prepare for the possibility of a severe dengue fever outbreak. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, January 17. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, has called on health officials across the Caribbean to prepare for the possibility of a severe outbreak of the mosquito-borne dengue fever. The last major regional outbreak of dengue was in 2009. Now, since then, the Caribbean has experienced two large outbreaks of mosquito-borne diseases, chikungunya in 2014 and Zika in 2016. In a statement issued on Thursday, CARPHA said that disease modeling predicts that another dengue outbreak may occur in the near future. And it pointed to the recent outbreak in Jamaica, saying that it has elevated the level of concern in other Caribbean islands. The Regional Health Agency has therefore advised countries to implement enhanced measures to reduce mosquito breeding and prevent the spread of the disease. Dengue is a flu-like illness. Symptoms typically begin 4 to 10 days after infection and include the high fever, headache, vomiting, muscle and joint pains, and skin rash. Guyana's opposition leader Barra Jagdeo says he would support an unbiased probe into whether former members of the parliament, Chandras Prasad, was bribed to vote against the government in last month's no-confidence vote. But he sought to make it clear that his People's Progressive Party did not bribe him. Prasad left Guyana the morning after he voted along with the opposition in the December 21, 2018 motion. Since his departure, bribery accusations have surfaced, but he has denied the allegations. At a press conference on Thursday, Jagdeo was questioned about the Prasad revelations and the police probe that is underway.
Charandas has said publicly that he did not receive any bribe. At this point in time, I've seen what Ramjatan said that caused the investigation come through Alicock. So, absolutely nothing. The People's Progressive Party or Jagdeo, any member of parliament on our side, did not bribe Charandas to vote that way. That is clear as daylight.
Meantime, the Alliance for Change, which is a member of Guyana's coalition government and the party which Prasad was part of, is offering little details about the police investigation. At a news conference on Wednesday, AFC member and Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan remained tight-lipped about whether the probe involved allegations of bribery. AFC General Secretary Marlon Williams also addressed the matter. More in this report from HGP Nightly News.
According to the Constitution, candidates for the post of Member of Parliament who fail to declare dual citizenship are in breach of the Statutory Declarations Act, Chapter 509, which stipulates in Section 4 that it is an offense punishable by imprisonment for a period of 1 year to make in a statutory declaration a statement false in fact. While it is not confirmed, this could possibly be one of several claims being probed by local investigators involving former AFC Member of Parliament Charandas Prasad, who fled Guyana for Canada following the December 21 no-confidence vote. Members of the Alliance for Change, during a press conference on Wednesday, explained that when the party vetted members for the post of Member of Parliament, it made it clear that once members had dual citizenship, they were not eligible for the post.
The previous General Secretary would have approached all persons selected to become MPs, and that question was asked. You know, the Alliance for Change has always been adamant about adhering to the Constitution. We did ask everyone, and if you notice, it's only one person that said they were in good stead, and we then discovered that they weren't. That's why you would notice all of our other MPs are exclusively Guyanese citizens.
General Secretary of the AFC, Marlon Williams. Chairman of the Alliance for Change, Kemraj Ramjatan, said that despite Mr. Prasad's reassurance to the AFC that he stood firmly with them against the opposition with the no confidence motion, there was some level of collusion taking place.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. A former Jamaica Prime Minister has described the government's decision to use legislation to forcibly retake Venezuela's 49% stake in state-owned oil refinery Petrodram as immoral and unprincipled. PJ Patterson blasted the government as he commented on the pending bill, which will be tabled in the House of Representatives next week to allow for the takeover. He says it's a dangerous precedent. The former Jamaican leader stressed that the Petrodram agreement with the Venezuelan authorities outlines procedures for settling disputes which might arise, and that's the route the Andrew Holness administration should go. Now, Patterson spoke about the issue in an interview for an upcoming episode of TVJ's All Angles program. He also expressed concerns about the country's relations with its Caribbean neighbor, questioning how the government proposed to continue its relationship with Venezuela while not recognizing the presidency of Nicolas Maduro. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm reports.
It's lengthy and expensive. That's part of the reason the government said it did not use arbitration to settle the ongoing dispute with PDV Caribe. So, after much discussions, it's creating a new law to take back its shares in Petrojam.
That certainly is not just immoral, that certainly is not just unprincipled, but it is certainly going to bring into question your reputation in terms of legitimate dealings. This time it's with Venezuela.
For the former Prime Minister, a dangerous precedent is being set. He indicated that Venezuela can no longer live up to the agreement, but the process to end the partnership is important. PJ Patterson says the upcoming bill and the Constitution have to be in one accord.
So one has to wait on the bill, and of course it is not going to be immune from challenge. And the law itself will have to provide for compensation, and if it is not in accordance with the principles outlined in Section 18, Venezuela is entitled to appear before Jamaican courts if the agreement stipulates that the law governing that partnership agreement is the law of Jamaica.
Turning to the decision by the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States not to recognize the legitimacy of Nicolas Maduro's new term.
I am disappointed that CARICOM has been unable to come to an agreement on this one.
Jamaica and 5 other CARICOM countries voted for the resolution. Others disagreed or abstained, while Grenada was absent. Mr. Patterson believes CARICOM should have used its influence to persuade Venezuela to fix the problems outlined by the international community. As it relates to Jamaica sending a representative to Maduro's swearing-in ceremony despite its vote at the OAS.
If we do not recognize the Maduro government as legitimate, to whom will our embassy in Caracas respond? In the case of their presence here, what instructions do we regard as valid for a regime which we say has no constitutional basis?
St. Kitts Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris is defending his government's decision not to make public a report from the International Monetary Fund on the 2017 article for consultation with the Twin Island Federation. The opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party has been pressing for the release of the document. But Dr. Harris told a news conference on Wednesday that the government exercised its right not to publish the report.
In fact, the economic data that is gathered and distributed by the government, by our able statistics department, is shared with all our relevant economic partners. The same data files that are shared with the IMF are also shared with ECCB.
Earlier, the Financial Secretary, Hilary Hazel, said the government continues with its consultation with the IMF. He added that the IMF is not only credible, the only credible source of information on the country's economic performance.
In fact, the economic data that is gathered and distributed by the government, by our able statistics department, is shared with all our relevant economic partners. The same data files that are shared with the IMF are also shared with ECCB, the Caribbean Development Bank, ECLAC, you name it. And so I think that we need to put things in proper perspective as well, in that the IMF is not an auditor of the government. The Director of Audit is the only authority to audit the books of the government.
The main opposition, St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, contends that the Harris administration is blocking the publication of the IMF report because of the present economic situation. Last November, opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas said the country needed to be aware of the issues raised by the IMF, and he has written to the Washington-based financial institution on the matter. The minority leader of the Tobago House of Assembly is being blamed for the sandals pullout. Stay with us. We have more news after this.
This is not any regular festival where you just come to hear music. This is a diverse festival, the one and only of its kind, where we have music on display, we have our food, but we have so much of our culture. And right now, we also have some arts and crafts on display, and we're here with the Dominica Arts and Crafts Producers Association, DACPA, naturally Dominican. Good night, tell us your name and tell us what you have on display for people to purchase.
Minority leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, Watson Duke, is being blamed for Sandal's decision to pull out from a multi-million-dollar resort project in Trinidad's Sister Isle. At the weekly media briefing on Wednesday, Chief Secretary Kelvin Charles launched a stinging attack on Duke. Duke has been a strident opponent of the Sandals resort being constructed in Tobago, and when the company said it would no longer go through with it because of constant negative publicity, he welcomed the move, thanking the Sandals CEO and founder for the decision. He said, quote, "Tobago says thanks for pulling out and for saving our wetlands from turning our people on the island into bellboys and bellgirls and water fetchers. It's a good sign that we say thanks to them for doing that," end quote. But Charles has cried shame on him.
How could anybody wishing to lead the island of Tobago behave in that manner, could be comforted by an action like that? So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, I have only just begun to speak on this issue. But I say to you today that if there is any blood on this project, then that blood is on his hand.
Duke had also said that he would welcome a Sandals return when the country and the Tobago House of Assembly are under new leadership. 8 Cubans who are being held at the Immigration Detention Center in the Cayman Islands started a hunger strike on Wednesday to protest the immigration process. Now, according to Cayman News Service, the Cubans who arrived in Cayman last September are also upset about how their asylum claims are being handled, their access to bilingual attorneys, and restricted access to communications. The detainees conducted a peaceful protest last week before beginning the hunger strike. Chief Immigration Officer Garfield Wong said government is committed to addressing their concerns and that more meetings with immigration and other agencies are planned. Tourism officials in the Caribbean are keeping a close eye on the developments in the United States where the government shutdown drags on. There are no signs of a breakthrough as the shutdown ended its 27th day on Thursday. The Bahamas Tourism Minister Dionisio de Angela is hoping that it will not impact the tourism arrivals forecast for the first quarter of this year. The U.S. accounts for at least 80% of air arrivals in the Bahamas, and de Angela says he remains optimistic about the 2019 figures.
The Bahamas is expecting, based on our information that we've been provided through our forward keys data, we're expecting January to be up by 16%, February to be up, this is air arrivals to the Bahamas, February to be up by 16%, March to be down by 2% because Easter falls in April this year, and April to be up by 16%. So we're expecting a very robust first quarter, which is very exciting based on what happened last year. So this is growth on top of growth. So I'm very excited and I'm very encouraged that tourism remains hot and things are continuing to grow. So I don't want this government shutdown to throw a wrench in what should be a very excellent first quarter for the Bahamas.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, a regional leader says the archaic structure of West Indies cricket is hampering the regional game. The details after the break.
Tell us about when you worked at the Investment Foundation about Bahamar.
So prior to joining the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism in 2014, I worked in the Office of the Prime Minister as Director of Investments in the Bahamas Investment Authority. So I was there when Bahamas started, worked with it. I used an analogy. I've worked on it for 12 years. It was like being pregnant, could not give birth to this baby. But when it came, boy, was it worth it.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Butcher Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Barbados, Get ready for the 5th Fish and Dragon Festival. This spectacle comes off at the Garfield Sobers Gymnasium on Wednesday, January the 23rd at 5 p.m. It features at 7:30 p.m. the charming Beijing Tarjin Hubei Arts Group from China. Additional performances include Calypso Monarch Mr. Blood, singer Kelly Cadogan, the Pineless Creative Workshop, traditional Chinese land dance and drumming, martial arts displays, Chinese interactive language and video rooms, traditional Beijing and Chinese food and delicacies, and lots more. That's the 5th Fish and Dragon Festival, and it's free.
The archaic structure of the West Indies Cricket Board, now Cricket West Indies, is hampering player performance and the overall development of the sport in the region. That's according to Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, who was once chairman of the CARICOM Subcommittee on Cricket Governance. Now appearing on radio talk show Mason and Guest, he pointed out that most cricket nations have improved the structure and operation of their boards, but CWI is holding fast to an old structure. The Prime Minister also said there is need for change in the leadership of CWI. Now alluding to the recent appointment of Richard Pybus as West Indies senior men's team interim head coach, Mitchell said the attitude and arrogance displayed by some members of the board are detrimental to the sport. He said people seem to be more concerned about position and not what is happening with West Indies cricket. Prime Minister Mitchell insisted that the board should be placing greater emphasis on investing in and developing the sport across the region, since individual countries cannot do it themselves. Over in the Cayman Islands now, there are concerns about the snail pace of the local organizing committee in preparations for the Carifta Games, which the island will host in April 20 to the 22nd. As the date for the start of the track and field championships nears, no work has started at the Trudon Bodden Stadium, leaving some officials in the dark. Cayman 27's Jordan Armanies has a story.
A few issues were brought up in terms of athletics when President of the Guyana Athletics Association, Aubrey Hudson, sat down with AGP Sports on Wednesday. The AAG president believes that 2018 has been a better year than 2017, mainly because of the achievement of more medals at the Caribbean.
Okay, we do apologize for the that story not being showed, but we can tell you that Guyana's athletics boss has given the country's junior athletes a passing grade for their performance at last year's Carifta Games and also the Commonwealth Games. Now, Aubrey Hudson says he expects to see an increased number of entries from Guyana at this year's Carifta Games.
A few issues were brought up in terms of athletics when President of the Guyana Athletics Association, Aubrey Hudson, sat down with AGP Sports on Wednesday. The AAG president believes that 2018 has been a better year than 2017, mainly because of the achievement of more medals at the Carifta Games and a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. He was asked about what the association is doing to improve standards of local athletes.
We set our standards. We know that every athlete is going to feel that he should have been on a team, but we set our standards particularly for the Carifta Games, and once you make those standards, we tell you pack your bags, you're going. This year we have looked back at our standards, make them a little more comfortable, but yet giving us a competitive edge once we get to Carifta. So we expect more athletes to qualify this year for Carifta Games. What we have to depend now is on the kindness of the government of Guyana to continue to assist us the way they did in 2018 with the same kind of help so that we can get a good team going to Carifta in Cayman Islands this year.
Additionally, the association is looking to encompass field events more since it has been giving Guyana more recognition.
We have tridors getting Commonwealth gold at the triple jump. Chantal Bright is a big name at the Carifta Games in the long and triple jump. Princess Brown coming back with a medal too in the jumps as well. So we have a good set of jumpers. Leslie Baird, our new national record holder, did well last year as well. He set a new national record and came up with good hardware from the South American Games. So field events, yes, we've been giving it equal play, but most of our athletes gravitate to the track, and we don't want to say, well, look, go do field, but we look at both of them equally.
Touching on the developmental meet program for 2019, The AAG president said it looks promising since the start of the first one last week. And from the numbers that came from that meet, some 80 athletes have been already selected for a camp this weekend. And this will see them being exposed to some of the elite coaches in the system.
We go back to our previous story where the Cayman Islands officials are concerned about the snail pace of preparations for the Carifta Games. Jordan Armanis tells us more.
Thus far, which we have used to secure the hotel deposits. The government has given us a significant commitment, and we hope to be able to declare that figure in the near future.
The total investment so far by government into the 48th Carifta Games, Cayman 27 has learned through a Freedom of Information request, it's just under $1 million.
The list of improvements at the track will include a new track. There'll be a new surface relayed. We're working with the Athletic Association to also try to minimize the disruption to the training so that the works, we're trying to complete them all before the end of December.
And those same promises of a new track at the Trumbaden Sports Complex have fallen behind. As of Wednesday, work hasn't even begun. And Athletics Association President Lance Barnes says he's been told it will now start this month.
We were told that the track work will commence sometime early January and hopefully will complete the second week in February. And as a result of that, the track, it has affected our local meets.
And with no local meets being held thus far, Cayman's athletes now just have a small window to qualify for the Carifta Games. And the track's impending closure has left those like Carifta medalist Danica Lynn to train in what she calls poor conditions in the build-up to the Games.
And that's the sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ten women, 5 men. But who will be the RJR Gleaner Sports Foundation National Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year for 2018? That's the 58th annual RJR Gleaner Group Sports Foundation National Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year Awards, live from the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on Friday, January 18.
Again, the major developments of this day, the Caribbean Public Health Agency warns the region to prepare for the possibility of a severe outbreak of dengue fever. And in sport, Grenada's Prime Minister says the archaic structure of West Indies cricket is hampering the regional game. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news on sports round the clock, subscribe to CarnaNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to Caribvision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.